The stars above Earth had never looked so empty. Admiral Daiho Kim stood on the observation deck of the orbital command station, watching the holographic display with tired eyes. Red markers filled the screen, each one representing a Vorthak warship. 2,000 of them. They formed a perfect sphere around the solar system, cutting Earth off from the rest of the galaxy. Daiho had fought in the Mars Rebellion 10 years ago. He had seen death and destruction up close. But this was different. This was not a rebellion or a civil war. This was the entire Vorthak Empire telling humanity to kneel or die. Behind him, the door opened. Dr. Heejin Park walked in, carrying a data tablet. Her face looked pale and worried. She had not slept in 3 days, working non-stop in the weapons lab below. "Admiral," she said quietly, "the Council wants your answer. Do we surrender or do we fight?" Daiho did not turn around. He kept staring at those red markers. "What does your heart tell you, Doctor?" Heejin walked to stand beside him. She looked out at the stars, too. "My heart says fight. My brain says we cannot win. 2,000 ships against our 400. They have shields we cannot break. They have weapons that can destroy cities in seconds. And Project Prometheus?" Daiho asked. Yejin's hands tightened on her tablet. "It works. I tested it yesterday. But Admiral, if we use it, we cross a line. We become something different. Something maybe worse than them." Daiho finally turned to face her. His eyes were hard but not cold. "Dr. Park, 50 years ago, we were burning chemical fuel to reach our own moon. Then the Vorthak made contact. They showed us their technology. They showed us the galaxy. And you know what they saw in us? Fear. They saw humans learning too fast, adapting too quickly. So now they want to put chains on us before we become a threat." "Maybe they are right to fear us," Heejin whispered. "Maybe," Daiho agreed. "But I will not let my children live in a cage because aliens are afraid of what we might become." Across the solar system, on the destroyer Indomitable, Captain Minho Lee was having a similar conversation with his crew. The young captain stood on his bridge looking at the same holographic displays. His ship was small compared to the massive Vorthak battleships, but it was fast and it was smart. "Captain," his tactical officer said, "we have their patrol patterns mapped. They are overconfident. They think we will not fight." Minho smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Then we will educate them." In the fighter bay below, Lieutenant Yoonji Cho was checking her spacecraft for the 10th time. She was young, barely 25, but she had already killed 23 pirate ships in combat. Her hands moved over the controls with practiced ease. She knew every button, every switch, every weapon system. Her squadron leader walked over. "Yoonji, if this goes bad, we are the first ones they will try to kill." Yoonji looked up and grinned. "Good. Let them try." Back on Earth in the council chambers, the debate raged. 50 leaders from 50 nations argued and shouted. Some wanted to surrender. They showed pictures of Vorthak weapons destroying planets. They talked about survival and living to fight another day. Others wanted to fight. They talked about freedom and dignity and never bowing to threats. Finally, the Secretary General raised her hand for silence. "Admiral Kim has a proposal. Let us hear it." The holographic image of Daiho appeared above the council table. He looked tired but determined. "Members of the council, the Vorthak think they know us. They think we are primitives playing with technology we do not understand. They think we will break when they show their strength." He paused. "They are wrong. Dr. Park and her team have given us something the galaxy has never seen. A weapon that does not care about shields or armor. A weapon that strikes instantly across any distance. Project Prometheus can hit their ships before they even know we are fighting." One council member stood up. "And how many of their ships can this weapon destroy? 10? 20? They have 2,000. Daiho smiled grimly. "We do not need to destroy all their ships. We need to show them that attacking Earth costs more than they are willing to pay. We need to make them afraid." The debate continued for hours. But in the end, Earth made its choice. They would not surrender. They would not accept chains. They would fight. The message went out on all frequencies, in all languages, to every corner of the galaxy. Admiral Daeho Kim delivered it himself, standing tall in his uniform, Earth visible through the window behind him. To the Vorthak Empire and all who hear this message, you have blockaded our home. You have threatened our people. You demand we surrender our freedom, our technology, our future. You believe we have no choice but to obey. He leaned forward, his eyes burning with intensity. You are wrong. We are humanity. We do not surrender. We do not bow. We do not break. You want to cage us? You want to chain us? Then come and try. Come and learn why you should have left us alone. The transmission ended. Across Earth, in every city and town, people watched their screens in silence. Some cried, some cheered. All of them felt the weight of what was coming. In the Vorthak Command, ship at the edge of the solar system, Supreme Commander Thal Vorix watched the human's message. His 3 eyes blinked slowly. His officers waited for his response. Foolish primates, Thal Vorix said. His voice was cold and ancient. They think courage can defeat superior technology. They think determination can stop our weapons. Very well. We will teach them the price of defiance. Order all fleets to advance. Destroy their outer colonies first. Then we will deal with Earth itself. The Vorthak fleet began to move. 2,000 ships, each one capable of destroying cities, began their slow march toward Earth. They moved in perfect formation, confident in their power, certain of their victory. They did not know that near Neptune, Captain Minho Lee was watching them approach. They did not know that Commander Jiwan Kang had spent 3 months seeding the outer solar system with weapons unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They did not know that Lieutenant Yunji Cho and her squadron were ready to die to protect their home. Most importantly, they did not know about Project Prometheus. They did not know that Dr. Heejin Park had found a way to make distance meaningless, to make shields useless, to make their mighty warships as fragile as paper. The Vorthak Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had conquered 100 worlds. They had crushed every enemy who dared stand against them. But they had never fought humanity. They had never faced a species that saw impossible odds and simply refused to lose. They had never encountered beings who would rather burn the galaxy than accept chains. The blockade had begun. But it would not end the way the Vorthak expected. It would not end with Earth kneeling. It would end with empires ablaze and the galaxy forever changed. The war for humanity's freedom had started, and nothing would ever be the same again. Neptune's shadow stretched across the void like a warning. Captain Minho Lee watched the Vorthak fleet approach on his screen. 47 ships moving in tight formation. They were confident, too confident. Commander Kang, Minho spoke into his comm. Are your minds ready? On Neptune Station, Commander Jiwan Kang smiled. Around her, thousands of small objects floated in space. They looked like rocks or ice chunks. But they were not. They were Engineer Taehyun Shin's masterpiece. Reaper mines. Each one was a gravity-assisted explosive drone that could track and kill. Ready and waiting, Captain, Jiwan replied. Just bring them to us. Minho's destroyer Indomitable began broadcasting a signal. To the Vorthak, it looked like a distress call. Like Earth forces were retreating in panic. The alien commander took the bait. His fleet increased speed, eager to catch their prey. They are coming fast now, Minho's tactical officer reported, entering the kill zone in 3 minutes. Minho nodded. His hands were steady on the controls. Hold position. Let them come. The Vorthak ships crossed into Neptune's gravity well. Their sensors showed nothing unusual. Just a few human ships and some ice debris. They did not know that every piece of debris was watching them. Waiting for them. Now, Jiwan shouted, the Reaper mines activated. Thousands of them. They did not just explode. They used Neptune's powerful gravity to slingshot themselves at impossible speeds. The Vorthak shields were designed to stop laser beams and missiles. They were not designed to stop chunks of metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The first Vorthak battleship exploded. Then another. Then 5 more. The alien formation broke apart as captains tried desperately to evade. But there was nowhere to go. The mines were everywhere, hunting, killing. In 15 minutes, 47 Vorthak ships became wreckage and fire. Not one survived. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. The mighty Vorthak Empire had lost nearly 50 ships in their first real engagement with humanity. Species that had been conquered by the Vorthak watched the footage again and again. Some began to hope. In the Vorthak command ship, Supreme Commander Thalvorik stared at the reports. His three eyes were wide with shock. How? How did primitives destroy a battle group? His tactical officer spoke carefully. Sir, they used our own tactics against us. They made us chase them into a trap. And their mines were not conventional weapons. They used gravity itself as a weapon. Thalvorik's claws scraped against his command chair. Then we will not fall for tricks again. Send 300 ships. Destroy everything between Neptune and Mars. Leave nothing alive. But Earth was not waiting to be attacked. Admiral Daeho Kim had a different plan. If they want to bring more ships, he told his officers, then we show them what Project Prometheus can do. Dr. Hyjin Park stood in her laboratory deep below Earth's surface. Around her, 3 massive machines hummed with barely contained power. They did not look like weapons. They looked like scientific instruments, which in a way they were. They used quantum entanglement to link points in space-time. They could put a warhead anywhere in the universe instantly. Doctor, one of her assistants said nervously, the targeting data is locked. 3 Vorthak dreadnoughts. They are the command ships for the new fleet. Hyjin's hand hovered over the activation button. She thought about all the people who would die. Not just Vorthak. This weapon would kill thousands. But if she did not use it, millions of humans would die instead. May we be forgiven, she whispered. Then she pressed the button. 300 light-years away, 3 Vorthak dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist. One moment they were there, massive and powerful. The next moment there was nothing. Not debris. Not energy signatures, just empty space where warships had been. The remaining Vorthak fleet stopped moving. Every captain stared at their screens in horror. Their most powerful ships had vanished. No warning, no defense, just gone. What weapon is this? A Vorthak officer whispered. How do we fight something we cannot see or stop? While the Vorthak fleet was frozen in confusion, Lieutenant Yoonji Cho led her squadron into attack. 75 human fighters against 300 alien warships. The odds were impossible. Yoonji did not care about odds. Go squadron, she called over the comm. Remember the plan. Fast and deadly. We hit their command center and we do not stop. The fighters were small and fast. They slipped through the Vorthak formation like knives through cloth. The alien ships tried to target them, but human pilots were trained differently. They did not fly in straight lines. They did not follow predictable patterns. They moved like they were dancing, like they were playing a game only they understood. Yoonji's fighter carried something special. A single missile with a quantum core courtesy of Dr. Park. She only needed to get close to the Vorthak mobile command station, close enough to guarantee the hit. Around her, fighters exploded. Good pilots, friends, people she had trained with. The Vorthak defenses were thick and deadly, but Ghost Squadron kept pushing forward, trading lives for distance. Target in range. Yoonji's computer announced. She did not hesitate. Her finger pressed the firing button. The missile launched. 3 seconds later, the Vorthak mobile command station exploded in a flash of light that could be seen from Mars. Break off. Break off! Yoonji shouted to the survivors. Of 75 fighters, only 15 remained. But they had done it. The Vorthak command structure in the outer system was destroyed. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, Earth had lost 200 ships and over 10,000 people. But the Vorthak had lost 300 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts and their mobile command station. More importantly, they had lost something else. They had lost their confidence. In the Vorthak homeworld, the High Council gathered in emergency session. For 3,000 years, they had been unstoppable. Now in just days, they had lost hundreds of ships to a species they considered primitive. How many more ships will we lose? One council member demanded. How many more times will these humans surprise us with weapons we have never seen? Another council member stood. We must increase the fleet. Bring ships from all sectors. 5,000 ships, 10,000 if needed. We will crush them with pure numbers. But in the back of the chamber, an old Vorthak general shook his head. He had studied humans. He had watched their history. You do not understand, he said quietly. Numbers will not win this war. Every time we push them, they adapt. Every time we hurt them, they become more dangerous. We have awakened something we should have left alone. Nobody listened to the old general. The Vorthak Empire would send more ships. They would bring more weapons. They would show these humans the true power of the galaxy's dominant species. On Earth, people celebrated their victory. But Admiral Daeho Kim did not celebrate. He stood in his office reading casualty reports. 10,000 dead, hundreds of ships destroyed. And this was just the beginning. Dr. Heejin Park entered without knocking. She looked even more tired than before. "They will come with more ships now," she said. "I know," Daeho replied. "How many more times can we use Prometheus?" "The power requirements are enormous. Maybe 3 or 4 more strikes before we need to rebuild the systems." "Admiral, we hurt them, but we did not stop them." Daeho nodded slowly. "Then we need to do more than hurt them, Doctor. We need to make them afraid. We need to take this war to their territory. We need to show them that blocking Earth was the biggest mistake they ever made." Outside, in the shipyards orbiting Earth, thousands of workers were building new ships. The factories ran day and night. Every resource, every person, every machine was dedicated to one purpose: survival, victory. The Vorthak had drawn first blood. But humanity had shown they could bleed the Empire too. The blockade still held. The Vorthak still had thousands of ships. But now they knew the truth. This would not be an easy victory. This would be a war. And humans were very, very good at war. The news reached Earth 3 days later. The Vorthak were bringing reinforcements, 3,000 more ships, and they were not coming alone. 2 allied species had joined them: the insect-like Chithrax with their swarm tactics, the crystalline Luminar Collective with their energy weapons. Fleet Admiral Sujin Bei stood before Earth's War Council. She was a small woman with iron-gray hair and eyes like steel. "They think numbers will win," she said. "They are wrong. While they gather their fleets we have been building," she activated the holographic display. Hundreds of new ships appeared. "In the last 30 days, every shipyard in the solar system has worked without stopping. We have built 500 new warships. In another month, we will have 500 more." One council member gasped. How is this possible?" Sujin smiled coldly. "Because every human on Earth, Mars, and the colonies is working together. Because we automated everything we could. Because when humans are fighting for survival, we can do impossible things. The Vorthak have never seen industrial production like ours. They think in terms of centuries. We think in terms of months. On Mars, in the underground factories, millions worked in shifts that never ended. Robots and humans side by side. Building weapons, building ships, building hope. The Red Planet had become one giant war machine. Captain Minho Lee, now promoted to Commodore, was leading a raid far from home. His task force of 20 ships had slipped past the Vorthak blockade weeks ago. Their target was Proxima Centauri, where the Vorthak had a massive supply depot. "Sir," his tactical officer whispered, 50 Vorthak ships guarding the depot. We are outnumbered badly." Minho studied the sensor data. The depot was huge, filled with fuel, ammunition, and spare parts for the invasion fleet. If he could destroy it, the Vorthak would have to pull ships back to protect their supply lines. "We are not here to fight their ships," Minho said. "We are here to burn their supplies. Launch all missiles. Target the fuel storage tanks. Then we run." The attack was brutal and fast. Human missiles streaked through space, each one aimed at the depot's most vulnerable points. The Vorthak ships scrambled to intercept, but they were too slow. The first fuel tank exploded, then another. Then the entire depot went up in a chain reaction that created a miniature star. Minho's ships escaped with only 3 losses. Behind them, the Vorthak supply depot burned. It would take months to rebuild. But the real surprise came from Specialist Junho Park. He was an electronic warfare expert who had spent weeks studying Chithrax communications. The insect aliens used pheromone-based signals that their computers translated. Junho had found a way to hack those translations. When the Chithrax fleet arrived in the solar system, ready to fight alongside the Vorthak, they received new orders. Orders that looked like they came from their own command. Orders telling them the Vorthak had betrayed them. Orders to retreat immediately. Confused and angry, the Chithrax fleet turned around and left. Some of them even fired on Vorthak ships as they departed. The Vorthak were left without their allies, wondering what had happened. "Beautiful work," Admiral Daeho Kim told Junho. "You just removed 1,000 enemy ships without firing a single shot." Junho smiled tiredly. "The Luminar Collective is harder to hack, but I am working on it." Meanwhile, Dr. Heejin Park was unveiling Phase 2 of Project Prometheus. She stood before a group of senior military officers. explaining something that sounded like science fiction. "We can now create temporary wormholes," she said. "Small ones, just big enough to send through a container of antimatter. We can put those containers anywhere. Inside enemy ships, next to their reactors, anywhere we can get a sensor lock." One officer raised his hand. "How much antimatter are we talking about?" "Enough to destroy a battleship from the inside," Hyejin replied. "No shields, no armor, no defense. One moment the ship is there, the next moment it is expanding plasma." The Battle of Saturn's Rings would become the largest space battle in history. The Vorthak brought 2,000 ships. The Luminar Collective added 500 more. Earth had 900 ships, including all the new construction. Commander Yoonji Cho, now leading Ghostwing, knew this would be different from the ambushes and raids. This would be a straight fight. Ship against ship. Fire against fire. All wings, she called out. "Remember your training. Stay mobile. Stay unpredictable. Make them waste ammunition chasing shadows." The battle began at dawn, Earth time. The Vorthak fleet advanced in perfect formation, firing as they came. Human ships scattered like a school of fish, never presenting an easy target. They darted between Saturn's rings using the ice and rock as cover. Dr. Park's new weapons proved devastating. Vorthak battleships exploded from within, as antimatter containers appeared in their reactor cores. The Luminar ships, made of living crystal, shattered under focused railgun fire. But the aliens were not helpless. Their weapons tore through human shields. Their numbers let them surround and overwhelm isolated ships. The battle raged for 18 hours. Fleet Admiral Sujin Bei watched from her flagship, making decisions that would save or doom thousands. "Pull back the Third Fleet. They are taking too much fire. Send the Fifth Fleet around the moon to flank them." Her orders were calm and precise. Every decision was calculated. She did not let emotion cloud her judgment, even as she watched ships die on her screens. Commodore Minho Lee led a desperate attack on the Vorthak command ship. His squadron punched through the enemy formation, losing ships with every kilometer, but they reached their target. Missiles and railgun fire hammered the massive vessel until its shields collapsed. "One more push," Minho shouted. His own ship was damaged, leaking atmosphere, but he did not retreat. He could not retreat. If the command ship survived, it would coordinate the enemy fleet too effectively. A final spread of missiles found their mark. The Vorthak command ship broke apart, its reactor going critical. The explosion lit up Saturn's rings like a second sun. Without central coordination, the Vorthak fleet began to falter. Individual captains made different decisions. Some retreated. Some pressed forward. Some tried to regroup. The perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Human ships trained to think independently exploited every mistake. They hit the confused enemy from multiple angles. They focused fire on damaged ships. They gave the aliens no time to recover. When the battle finally ended, the void was filled with wreckage. Earth had lost 400 ships. Over 20,000 people were dead. But the Vorthak had lost 1,200 ships. The Luminar Collective had lost 300 more. The survivors retreated. The blockade was broken. For the first time since the crisis began, Earth's ships could move freely through the solar system. In Earth's orbital command center, exhausted officers celebrated. But Fleet Admiral Sujin Bei did not celebrate. She looked at Admiral Daeho Kim with hard eyes. "We won," Daeho said. "We survived," Sujin corrected. "But the Vorthak Empire is still huge. They still have thousands of worlds, millions of ships. This was just one fleet," Daeho nodded. "Then we take the fight to them. We make them defend their own worlds. We show them that Earth is not prey. We are the hunters now." Around them, officers began planning. Not defense, not survival, attack. They would strike Vorthak colonies. They would raid their trade routes. They would make the Empire bleed. The tide had turned. The species that was supposed to surrender had won. The primitives had beaten the Empire. And now, humanity was about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The Vorthak colony world of Tharsis Prime burned. Its orbital platforms were destroyed. Its defense fleet was scattered debris. Human warships held position above the planet, their weapons aimed at the surface. But Admiral Daeho Kim did not give the order to fire. Instead, he broadcast a message to the civilians below. "People of Tharsis Prime, we are not here to kill you. We are here to show your leaders that they cannot hide behind their empire while attacking Earth. Evacuate your military installations. You have 6 hours. The Vorthak civilians, who had been told humans were savage monsters, watched in confusion as the human fleet waited. They evacuated. 6 hours later, precision strikes destroyed every military base on the planet. Not one civilian died. This was the new strategy. Hit military targets, spare civilians. Show the galaxy that Earth fought with honor even while bringing empires to their knees. 17 worlds in 30 days. Fleet Admiral Sujin Bay reported to Earth's War Council. We have demonstrated something the Vorthak never expected. We can strike anywhere. We can coordinate attacks across hundreds of light years. Our logistics are better than theirs. She paused. And we are winning. But winning came at a price. General Uniquan commanded the Marine Expeditionary Force, the troops who had to land on hostile worlds and capture enemy positions. She stood on the bridge of a transport ship, looking at casualty reports. "Ma'am," one of her officers said, "the fortress world of Krell Station. Intelligence says it is impossible to capture. 300 years of fortifications, underground bunkers, automated defenses." Una smiled. She had studied every fortress in human history. She knew that every defense had a weakness. Nothing is impossible. Get me the full sensor scans, and find me their water supply. 2 weeks later, Krell Station fell. Not because human marines stormed the walls. Not because human bombs broke the bunkers. It fell because General Uniquan did not attack the fortress. She attacked the aqueduct system that supplied it with water. Within 3 days, the garrison surrendered rather than die of thirst. The galaxy watched in amazement. Humans fought differently. They thought differently. They found solutions that no one else considered. Agent Dongwu Lim was doing something even more dangerous. He had infiltrated the Vorthak High Command itself. Using stolen credentials and falsified biometric data, he walked the halls of their most secure facility. His target was Supreme Commander Thalvorix, the alien who had ordered Earth's blockade. Dongwu had studied the commander's routines for months. He knew when Thalvorix was alone. He knew when security was weakest. The assassination was clean and quiet. One moment, the Supreme Commander was reviewing battle plans. The next moment, he was dead. Dongwu escaped before anyone knew what had happened. The death of Thalvorix threw the Vorthak military into chaos. 3 admirals claimed the right to replace him. Each one took ships loyal to them. The unified Vorthak fleet split into factions. Dr. Nari Jung had developed something new. Not a weapon for killing, but a weapon for the mind. She called it psychological warfare on a galactic scale. Every species has fears, she explained to Admiral Deho Kim. The Vorthak fear losing control. The Luminar fear darkness. The Chithrax fear isolation. We can use these fears against them. Her team broadcast messages across Vorthak space. Messages that looked like they came from within the Empire. Messages claiming that human agents were everywhere. That humans could strike anyone, anywhere, at any time. That resistance was futile. The psychological effect was devastating. Vorthak soldiers began to surrender rather than face human forces. Entire fleets refused to leave port. Officers questioned every order, wondering if humans had already infiltrated their chain of command. Commander Yunji Cho and Ghostwing had become legends. They had destroyed 73 Vorthak ships without a single loss. Every pilot in the galaxy knew their name. Every enemy captain feared seeing them on their sensors. Their newest mission was the most daring yet. Penetrate the Vorthak home system. Strike at their naval academy. Show them that nowhere was safe. This is a one-way trip, Yunji told her squadron. We probably will not make it back. But if we succeed, we break their spirit. We show them that even their home world can be touched. Every pilot volunteered. They loaded their fighters with long-range fuel tanks and stealth systems. They plotted a course that would take them through unmapped space, avoiding Vorthak patrols. The journey took 3 weeks. When Ghostwing emerged in Vorthak home space, they were running on fumes. But they had made it. The Naval Academy hung in orbit above the Vorthak homeworld, training the next generation of enemy commanders. All wings, Yunji commanded. Maximum speed. All weapons. Give them everything we have. The attack was brutal and perfect. Ghostwing hit the academy before defenses could respond. Missiles and railgun fire tore through the structure. Thousands of cadets and instructors died. The academy, a symbol of Vorthak military power for centuries, broke apart and fell toward the planet below. Ghostwing did not try to escape. They turned and fought the defenders, selling their lives dearly. Yunji's last transmission was simple. Tell Earth we did it. Tell them we made them pay. All 16 fighters were destroyed. But the psychological blow to the Vorthak was immense. If humans could strike their homeworld, nowhere was safe. Dr. Hyejin Park stood before Earth's leaders with one final innovation. She looked older now, worn down by months of war and the moral weight of her creations. "I call it the Nova Protocol," she said quietly. "We can trigger stellar flares, make a star release massive amounts of radiation. Any planet in the system becomes uninhabitable. Any ship in the system dies." She paused. "It is a weapon of last resort. A doomsday weapon. Will we use it?" Someone asked. Admiral Daeho Kim answered, "Only if they force us. But they need to know we have it. They need to know that if they try to destroy Earth, we can destroy entire systems in return. Mutually assured destruction. It kept humans from destroying ourselves during the old Cold War. Maybe it will work on the Vorthak too." Commodore Minho Lee led the attack on the largest Vorthak shipyard outside their home system. It was a massive structure, capable of building 100 warships simultaneously. Taking it would cripple Vorthak ship production. The battle was fierce. The shipyard was defended by 200 ships and thousands of automated weapons platforms. But human tactics had evolved. They used electronic warfare to blind sensors. They used decoys to waste enemy ammunition. They used precise coordination to concentrate fire. After 6 hours of fighting, Minho's Marines boarded the shipyard. They captured it mostly intact. Within a month, human engineers had it building ships for Earth. The Vorthak Empire was fragmenting. Regional governors, seeing the writing on the wall, began surrendering independently. Some offered alliances with Earth. Others simply declared neutrality and withdrew from the war. The species that had ruled for 3,000 years was collapsing, not because humans were stronger, not because Earth had more ships, but because humans fought smarter, because they adapted faster, because they never, ever gave up. Fleet Admiral Sujin Bei broadcast a message across all frequencies. Every species in the galaxy heard it. "This is Fleet Admiral Bei of the United Earth Navy. 14 months ago, the Vorthak Empire tried to cage humanity. They threatened our freedom. They demanded our surrender." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Today, the Vorthak Empire is broken. Their fleets are scattered. Their worlds beg for mercy. This is the price of aggression against Earth. This is what happens when you try to chain a free people. But we are not tyrants. We are not conquerors. We fought for our freedom, not for empire. Any Vorthak world that lays down its weapons will be spared. Any Vorthak fleet that surrenders will be treated with honor. This war can end today. The choice is yours." Across Vorthak space, the message played again and again, and slowly, one by one, the surrenders began. The empire that had lasted 3 millennia fell in 18 months, brought down not by a stronger power, but by a younger, hungrier, more adaptable species. Humanity had done the impossible. They had won, but the hard part was just beginning. What would Earth do with its victory? Would they become the new empire, or would they forge a different path? The Great Hall was silent. Representatives from 73 species sat in circular rows, all facing the center. This was the first galactic assembly of free worlds, not a meeting of empires and conquered peoples, a meeting of equals. Admiral Daeho Kim walked to the center podium. He wore his uniform, but he had removed all weapons. This was not a time for threats. This was a time for building. 18 months ago, he began, the Vorthak Empire tried to cage Earth. They believed might made right. They believed the strong should rule the weak. They were wrong. He looked around the hall. Many eyes stared back, some hopeful, some afraid, all waiting to see what humanity would do with its victory. Today, Earth proposes something new, not an empire where one species rules others, not a treaty where the powerful dictate terms to the weak, a true commonwealth where every world has a voice, where every species is equal, where freedom is protected for all. A murmur ran through the crowd. This was not what they expected. Victors always took what they wanted. That was the way of the galaxy. A Vorthak delegate stood slowly. His scales were dull with shame and fear. "Admiral Kim, my people made war on yours. We tried to destroy you. Why would you offer us a place as equals?" Daeho looked at him directly. "Because we fought for freedom, not revenge. Because peace built on humiliation never lasts. Because we want partners, not subjects. Your leaders made mistakes, but your people deserve a future." The Vorthak delegate's eyes filled with tears. In Vorthak culture, showing emotion was shameful. but he could not help it. We called you primitives. We were the primitives, primitive in wisdom. In understanding, you taught us that strength is not just in weapons. It is in knowing when not to use them. Fleet Admiral Sujin Bei watched from the Earth delegation. She had argued against this. We should occupy key worlds, she had told the Council. We should keep our weapons ready. Trust is earned slowly, but she had been outvoted. Earth had decided to take the risk. To show that humans meant what they said about freedom and equality, Dr. Hee-jin Park stood to speak next. She looked healthier now, less haunted. The war was over. She no longer had to create weapons to kill. Many of you fear our weapons, she said. You should. Some of them are terrible. Project Prometheus, the Nova Protocol, weapons that can destroy fleets and sterilize systems. She paused. But I want you to know the truth. Half of those weapons were bluffs. Elaborate psychological warfare. We made you believe we were more powerful than we really were. We used your fear against you. Shocked whispers filled the hall. Why are you telling us this? Someone asked. Because peace requires trust, Hee-jin replied. And trust requires honesty. Yes, we have powerful weapons, but we also used creativity, psychology, and strategy. We won because we thought differently, not because we had magic technology. She smiled. And now we will share what we know. Our technology, our methods, our science, free for all species who join the Commonwealth, on one condition: it can never be used for oppression. The assembly erupted in debate. Some species were eager to join. Others were cautious. A few remained hostile, but the conversation had begun. Minister Kyung-mi Han was elected as the first Secretary General of the Galactic Commonwealth. She had spent the war negotiating with neutral powers, building the network of allies that helped Earth win. Now she would build something even harder: a lasting peace. My first act, she announced, is to propose the Treaty of Free Skies. No species may blockade another. No empire may demand technological restrictions. No world may be forced to accept terms through threat of force. All disputes will be settled through negotiation, or, if necessary, by Commonwealth intervention. It took 6 months of negotiation, but eventually, 48 species signed the treaty. The Galactic Commonwealth was born. Commodore Minho Lee received a new assignment. He would command the Commonwealth's first joint fleet. Ships from a dozen species all working together. It was chaos at first. Different languages, different tactics, different cultures, but slowly they learned to work together. A Vorthak officer taught humans about long-range scanning. A human engineer showed Luminar crew how to repair systems faster. Different species brought different strengths. This is what we fought for, Minho told his mixed crew. Not to prove humans are superior, to prove that cooperation is better than domination. On Earth, a great ceremony was held, a monument to the war dead, not a triumphant statue celebrating victory, a somber memorial remembering the cost. 73,000 names were carved into black stone. Human names. Every person who died defending Earth. Every pilot who did not come home. Every soldier who gave their life for freedom. At the base of the monument, a simple inscription in every language spoken on Earth and many spoken across the galaxy. They tried to block our star. We lit 1,000 more. Fleet Admiral Sujin Bei stood before the monument with a group of young officers. They had not fought in the war. They were too young, but they would inherit what their elders had built. Why did we destroy our own weapons? One young officer asked. We could have kept them. Made sure no one ever threatened us again. Sujin looked at the names on the wall. So many dead, so much sacrifice. Because weapons like that corrupt whoever holds them. We built them to survive. We destroyed them so others could live without fear. The strongest defense is not weapons. It is building a galaxy where no one needs to fear their neighbors. She turned to face the young officers. You are the future. Your job is not to win wars. It is to prevent them. To build bridges instead of walls. To show the galaxy that strength and wisdom can exist together. Admiral Daeho Kim retired from active duty. He moved to a small house in the countryside, far from the cities and the military bases. He spent his days writing and teaching, passing on the lessons learned in blood and fire. Students from dozens of worlds came to learn from him. Not just military tactics, philosophy, ethics, the responsibility that comes with power. Why did Earth win? A young Vorthak student asked him one day. Daeho thought for a long moment. Not because we were stronger. Not because we had better weapons. We won because we refused to accept that our fate was decided by others. We won because we adapted, because we thought creatively, because we never stopped believing we could succeed. He smiled. But most importantly, we won because we knew what we were fighting for. Not conquest, not revenge. Freedom. For ourselves and eventually for everyone. Dr. Hyejin Park became the director of the Commonwealth Science Council. She oversaw projects that would have been impossible during the war. A joint Vorthak human research station studying quantum physics. A Luminar human team working on faster-than-light communication. A dozen species sharing knowledge, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. For 3,000 years, she told her research teams, the galaxy was stagnant. Empires fought for control. Science advanced slowly. Now we are entering a new age. An age of cooperation and rapid progress. Imagine what we can achieve together. 10 years after the war, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The old empires built on dominance were gone. New alliances built on mutual benefit had taken their place. Trade flourished. Science advanced. Conflicts were resolved through negotiation instead of war. It was not perfect. There were still disputes, still tensions, still occasional violence. But the trajectory had changed. The galaxy was moving towards something better. And on countless worlds, in classrooms and homes, when people told stories to their children about hope in the face of impossible odds, they all ended the same way. Remember what the humans did. They remembered how a species considered primitive defeated the galaxy's greatest empire. They remembered that determination and creativity could overcome superior force. They remembered that the fight for freedom was always worth it. Most importantly, they remembered that victory meant nothing if not used wisely. Earth had won the war, but humanity's greatest achievement came after, when they chose mercy over revenge, cooperation over domination, hope over fear. The Vorthak had tried to block Earth. They had believed that controlling one young species would secure their empire forever. Instead, they had awakened something that changed everything, not through conquest, not through domination, but by showing the galaxy a different path, a path where freedom was not a privilege granted by the powerful, but a right defended by the determined. The stars that had once looked empty from Earth now blazed with possibility. Humanity had reached for them, fought for them, and ultimately shared them with everyone. The blockade had failed. The empire had fallen, and from the ashes something better had grown. A galaxy where every species had a voice, where freedom was protected, where cooperation replaced conquest. Earth had lit a fire that could not be extinguished, a fire of hope, of possibility, of a better future for all. And that fire would burn forever, a light in the darkness for every species that dreamed of being free. The end.